All right. For better or worse, here we go. How's it going, folks? Yeah, I haven't done a show in a while. I have not changed my position at all. Um, or I should say, my standing at all. That this is a common law land. Simple as that. Um, Done. Okay. So, let's see. What do I got here? Not that one. That one. So, hopefully you can see the map okay. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Now, if you look at the brown, you're going to see a world map of common law lands. Now, common law lands are. Common law goes way back. It goes way back to the beginning of man, right? No harm, no loss, no injury to your fellow man. Period. End of story. A lot of people don't get this stuff. I help people write letters. They get all fucking scared about, what they're writing. Now, I really don't know why. But I'm telling you that the elites on this land, all right, within all common law nations, and whether they wear a black robe, or they act as privy. Maybe not all the privy, because there's oh boy, we got some freaking idiots there. But these common law lands recognize that God created man, and man created government to protect property of man. The first and foremost of this nation is that the government protects property of man, and then they can run off and do what they wish. Like, let's I did a whole show about this. I was drawing lines all over the chalkboard and everything else, and to show you what it is. But Canada, okay, Canada is, I'm sure most of you heard this, is Canada is just a corporation, blah, blah, blah. But it's a trust, all right? Have you ever heard of a trust company? So it's a trust. And, so it operates in trust and has a certain jurisdiction over its trust, okay? The reason that Canada comes out with these laws and stuff, public laws, is to protect those of mankind from its citizens. And this is why they come out with all these laws. The only problem is where is the man or woman that's going to stand? Are they extinct now? Is every man and woman now extinct and everybody's a person? Because that's what it seems to me when I talk to folks about, who are you? I say, well, I'm a good person. I say, I didn't ask you what you are. I asked you who you are. So, anyways, I threw this map up. You see, common law lands have shrunk. Common law countries, common law nations have shrunk. Now, if you look at the light brown, those are common law nations, countries, lands. And if you look at the dark brown, they're bijural. But as far as I understand, with maybe the exception of Scotland, I don't know if I can make that bigger. But anyways, with maybe the exception of Scotland, the bijural countries, common law is still the highest law. Like in Quebec, common law still recognizes the highest law, even though they're Napoleonic civil law. Why would the phone be ringing now? Well, I'm just not going to get it. Okay, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. So anyways, I'm watching all this shit go on. Like, okay, so look what these trustees. Now, if you look at anybody that is in public service, they're a trustee. If they're paid by the public, obviously they're in trust to the public, right? Now, mankind is part of the public. Unless you can show me where mankind is outlawed from being part of the public as well. You all think that, citizens are public and Indians are public and LGBTQ plus 2 is public. Okay, sure. But so is mankind. Now, I don't wish to be seen as a person all the time. I have a right. In 1893, and I've heard, I did a show on slavery, as lame as it might have been, last year about slavery and Canada being the first to outlaw slavery and within the common law lands. And so I was speaking off to Ezra about it, however I do. And, he come out and he's, 1893, we outlawed. And he thinks it was only in Upper Canada. Well, no, it was in Upper and Lower Canada. Right? I don't know which book he was reading, but it was in Upper and Lower Canada, you see, because at the time, the major slave trade, before the natives here also had slaves because they capture from their enemies in different tribes, and then they take as slaves and concubines and so on and so forth. And the French were big on slave trade. And, at the time, England had a slave trade. Now, you got to remember that throughout history, slavery had no creed, no color, okay? Slavery was, everybody was subject to slavery. All you had to have was an oops, and now you're a slave. Or be in the wrong place at the wrong time and get robbed, and now you're a slave. So, so it's not just for the people of Africa that there were different tribes that conquered other tribes and sold them into the slave trade. I mean, South America was built on this slave trade. The Spanish were huge on it, and Muslims are huge on it. The Mediterranean was huge on it. In fact, the slave trade is going on today. Nobody wants to talk about the slave trade going on today. Why not? Well, I know why not, right? Because there isn't a single discussion going on here. I don't know. I think I'm okay for volume. I think I'm all right. This new microphone, man, it's pretty fucking touchy. Okay, is that better? Hopefully. I'm going to sign up to Elon Musk's thing, Skynext, or whatever the hell it is, Skynet. Just so I can do live streams. But I was booked in for this operation last year for February. It's not my first rodeo. I was run over by a couple of cars on my old motor scooter, and handlebars ripped my guts out, liver, lungs, spleen, all over the ground. They used a hairnet to put my liver back together. So they shaped it back in with the hairnet, and then sewed all the little chunks back together. So, I wasn't supposed to live. Yeah, it was too funny. So I'm going in tomorrow morning for another one. All summer I did wish to do a show, but last spring I was getting pretty excited with this COVID shit. I was paying too much attention to, people falling down the streets and driving off the roads in China. And I was getting pretty excited, so I figured, fuck this shit, I'm going to give it a break. And it was a great summer. We had rain till, say, end of June-ish, beginning of July. And then we had 6 weeks of straight summer. It was awesome. It was great. And the fires didn't start out here till near the end of it, which was cool. Because if we get a long, hot, dry summer early, the whole place goes on fire, which it has over the last few years. So, I just hung with my family, my brothers. I did some riding. My daughter came out to visit, which was awesome. My granddaughter. Um, it was just I wrenched a few bikes, helped a few helped a few boomers out. Um, people pass by. We're in the middle of nowhere. There's no Harley dealership or whatever, and I just happen to be tooled and equipped and talented. So I do help guys out. So, anyways, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, you go to help. People ask you for some help, so you help them, and you think the legal system is a two-dimensional system. Okay, Canada is a corporation. Everybody knows Canada is a corporation, but it's a trust company. Okay, so everybody who operates within the corporate body politic operates in trust. The reason you're given, so I'm just going to give it like an umbrella revamp here, but the reason you're given like a birth certificate or whatever is because when a man or a woman is born on this land, that is actually a benefit. Okay, it's a benefit. So if you wish to engage, I'm just going to turn this up again. This thing was so sensitive when I was playing with it that I don't know if I got it too low, too high. Hello. I don't know. I don't freaking know. Now I got it. It doesn't seem like I turned it down. It doesn't seem to be any lower or higher than cranked or all the way down. So I sure hope it's okay. All right, so just to cover what I believe to be true and what I've seen to be true and what I'm convinced to be true. Okay, so everybody on a common law land, right, is born free. Okay, God created man, man created government to protect property of man, and I'm talking mankind. So that's feminine and masculine man. And so we're all equal. Okay, we're all of the same species of man. You can't be against your own race of mankind. Now I realize that there's definitions of race, different creed, different color. Look, my dog's a dog. It's from the race of dogs. Okay, or the wolf race, right? She might not be a wolf, but she's of that race. And I really, the biggest difference that everybody I see with common sense is that the difference is culture. Okay, so we have tribal culture. Like this is a Judeo-Christian land. Our laws and our way of life is based on the Judeo-Christian belief that everyone is born equal, that everyone has a right, that property is king. Legal people think equity is king. Well, that's good for legal persons, but property is king. Now I'm watching these guys say, hey, you don't want property. Listen, your rights, your God-given rights, okay, the right you have to breathe air, the right you have to speak your mind, the right you have to disagree, the right you have to go from point A to point B is all property. That which you author is property. I authored those kids. Therefore, it is property until they come of age. It is property. I'm watching these guys like parental rights. You show me parental rights, and I will show you a person with no rights. You show me a co-parent, and I'll show you a corporation. So these poor folks, man. Fuck these poor folks. That are fighting in court over their property that they did author. Giving up the authority, the dictatorship of property over to some stranger in a black robe, which is wrong. I say, well, what the fuck, Al? How do you fight this stuff? How do you stand? Well, Norm Travesty is travesty? Traversy? comes to mind. So I was watching him. There's a common law dude in Ontario. I think his name's Chris. So I'm watching Chris. Now Chris is very militant. Now actually, he sounds and acts a lot like Carl. Okay, so if you don't know who Carl is, don't worry about it. But for those who do, yeah, he sounds and acts. So he's very, he's. I realized that the YouTube show I watched was very condensed, and the guy had to kind of get his points in. I don't know why it had to be condensed, and I don't know why they just didn't do a series of shows so that he could explain it to people. But anyways, he decided it was very condensed, and he only had so much time, and so he's laying this stuff on Traversy, and I'm looking at him now. If you don't know who Norm is, he's the guy that did a private prosecution on Trudeau. All right. So he entered the legal system as a legal person, right? And did a legal document to hold another legal person to account. Now, at the time, if you look at my station, you can go back, you'll find it where I said, he isn't going anywhere with this shit. And I explained why. I'm not going to get into it now. It's up there in one of my shows. And so I'm listening to this poor guy, and I'm looking at poor Norm. And he's like a kid. He's like, "Whoa, I think I'll go." Norm, you're going to get eaten alive. Now, I did reach out, and I left him my number, contact. I said, hey, tell Chris to get a hold of me, because I think we'd be pretty good allies, actually. But I believe the stand, but I come from the street. All right, I was beaten and raised by a military dude, and then ended up on the street early in life. I know what it's like to be all full of testosterone. All right, to fight your way through society or a neighborhood, to stand on your own while you're being threatened with knives and guns and sticks. I know what it's like to be harassed and beaten and slandered by coppers. Right? I mean, that's that's just what life dealt me. So I'm looking at this poor Norm guy, and he's sitting there like, "Oh, I think I'm going with you," and it's great, and I hope you get all the help. But don't you go off half-cocked, Norm. If you're going to go stand at court, you better learn how to man up. And the very first thing I teach people is how the hell to man up. Yeah, I've taken a couple of paralegal courses. It's just, it interests me. But it's not my wish. If I see a complete benefit to be seen as a legal person or a person within Canada, fine. It's my choice. Because, getting back to Ezra, slavery is outlawed in all its forms on this land. You cannot be forced. You can be tricked, okay? Trickery, barratry, same. You can be tricked into be seen as a legal person, but that is wrongdoing. All right, so there may be a number of reasons why somebody in a black robe would trick you into it. Number one, they might just want to test you out and see if you actually are the man you claim you are. And you may be found wanton. I want from no man. I wish and I require. I wish of my brother, give me a hand. And I require of my public servants. We have no leaders, okay? You are the leader. You and I are leaders. Okay, Trudeau and the gang, right? He might be the leader of the party. He might be the leader of the corporate body politic, the trust company, right? But he is still a trustee. And the other big thing that everybody throws at you is, how do you enlarge something just by, sorry for my incompetence. Please forgive me. Let's see. I can just do this, right? Whoop. Well, not really. Not with that thing in my way. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's... No, I want that one. Don't want that one. Oh, fuck. There I am. All right, so Canada operates in trust, okay? So every public servant operates in trust. Now, what you have here right now is the dog wagging or the tail wagging the dog. That's what's going on right now. And everybody's sucked into it. So you got this conglomerate of trustees worldwide playing king, playing God, playing games, playing chess. And here I'm watching everybody. I didn't stop watching and paying attention to what's going on just because I haven't done a show in a while, but I'm watching everybody play checkers. These guys, you're like, it's like these new so-called technicians, Harley technicians. You know, they go after one thing. You know, they plug and play, and they say, okay, well, this says it's wrong, da 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 da. But they don't know how to investigate what was the cause of the problem. Was it just the sensor itself, or was it even a sensor? Is there something else that's causing the sensor to prematurely go bad? So instead of doing old school tests and testing things out, like a man in a black robe would, to see if you're man or you're just an imposter, a poser, a man. And Norm, if you were standing at court tomorrow, you would be, it's like you'd be eaten alive, right? Now, I'm not trying to scare anybody, because every one of us have the right. The problem is we've all been indoctrinated into this this personhood, right? And Robin Hood's up there, you know, taken from the poor and given to the rich. So like I say, if you look at anybody that works for the public, okay, so anybody receiving public coin is a trustee of the public. And within that trust, whatever their person is, their title, entitlement. Okay, it's not white versus black. It's not native versus white. It's not LGBTQ versus white man, you know, straight white man, right? Because each one of us are mankind, and we have a creator. And by law, we are all born equal. So it doesn't matter what your flavor is. We are all of the species of man. We are all of the race of mankind, feminine and masculine. The only aliens are men. Okay, Al, now you really screwed me up. What do you mean, men? You just said the least of man is greater than the greatest of men. Okay, look at David and Goliath. David was the least of man, and Goliath was the greatest of men. And that's just one example. I mean, I can go on to Gideon and others. The point is, if there is a different race, it's the race of men, not the race of man. Okay? So, these people, through poor education, poor indoctrination, listen, there's a whole conglomerate of folks that understand that they are part of mankind and that you are stupid and that you don't know who the fuck you are, and that you freely consent to be under the authority of a trustee. And if you understand, you know, just check out basic trust, because there's many trusts: statutory trusts, common law trusts, ecclesiastical, I have trouble saying that word, tongue ties me, but ecclesiastical trusts, business trusts. So, but if you understand basic trust, okay, Canada is a trust company, okay? And it was created by the inner city of London, a crown corporation, the crown. Not England, but the crown, right? Not the thing on the lady's head, but the inner city of London, which is a crown corporation. It's probably a trust corporation as well. Because a trust corporation, right? A corporate trust can have many trusts. You know, they can just open up another trust company. So these guys are trustees. You and I are the beneficiaries. You are a beneficiary of Australia, of Canada, of New Zealand, of South Africa, of England. And you say, well, you know, they don't listen. They are blah, 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 blah. But you have to understand how mankind operates. You've been taught all your life how to operate as a person, okay, within the legal system. But nobody taught you how to operate as a man lawfully, within the public or without the public. Your home is your castle. All public law ends at the border, at the threshold of my door. Now, this is why I wrote this. I'm just going to show this. Let me find it. Right there. All right. Let's make it bigger. All right. So, now here we go. I'm going to put on my glasses. All right, so basically, I've done some documents before with you guys, and so to the man who acts as Attorney General, I don't know if it's a man or a woman. There's Attorney General for every province. There's a man or a woman who acts as Attorney General for Canada, and from man, you may address as Al. So if you say what's your name, I say, well, that's property. But I can tell you, well, you may address me as Al. My name is Man, but you may address me as Alan. All right? So there we go. So notice, public notice to the public servants, notice to the trustees. Same thing. Hi Bob. I don't know if his name's Bob. I just wrote this, but it is the belief of I that you act in trust as Attorney General of Canada. I hereby waive the benefit or right to be seen as a person within Canada, lest I believe it is a benefit to I and my family, or if there be a law that forces man to act as said person being to a legal person, or a person within Canada. Said person is person within Canada, right? Which is a legal person. All property of I that I register with Canada, province, or agency is for the purpose of protection purposes only. So I could probably reword that better than that. Okay, so we'll just finish it up here. If there is a law that forces man to act as said person, I wish and require you, because you see, they work for me, okay? They're the trustees. I'm the beneficiary. So as a beneficiary, I wish to know, I can wish, and I can require you send me an answer by way of post so no harm comes to I and my family within 7 days. You send me a copy of the law. So I could have worded that better. And I will. I'll clean it up. I just wrote this because I'm going in the hospital tomorrow, and it's driving me crazy that like nobody wishes to write a document to put their standing before their trustees, before their public servants. And if you do not fulfill said wish, obviously we have an agreement of the parties. There. Pretty simple. That's all it takes. It's not a big, claim of right, notice of understanding, 16,000 pages thick. I mean, this is what pissed the courts off when the Freemen were operating, right? Oh yeah, I get blamed for being a free man too. They actually, the coppers actually, they've labeled me some kind of fucking free man. Well, every man, every woman on this land is born free, so I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But it's just a way to slander me, profile the person, okay? So they couldn't get away with, forcing me, intimidating me, bullying me, yelling at me, imprisoning me, putting me in a cage to be seen as a legal person. So they just label me. And so they just, I get harassed, I don't know, I get harassed by the coppers too. I get treated like a bag of shit. I don't like to see what's going on. I don't like this whole thing. The idea, the office of the coppers is totally honorable. It's there to protect people. It's there not just to protect society, but it's there to protect people. So you and I can walk down the street. Your grandmother can walk down the street. Your daughter, your son, your kid can walk down the street feeling fairly safe. Because the coppers, if somebody does cause you harm, loss, or injury, the coppers are going to show up, they're going to investigate, and they're going to go nab the culprits, the wrongdoers, and put their ass behind bars. Now, that doesn't seem to happen much anymore. Nobody seems to give a shit. They're too busy locking you up because some health guy, some $350,000 a year bureaucrat that wasn't elected into a position decided that, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. Now, within the trust, okay, so you have to look at the charter of the trust. Okay, so Canada, what are the charters of Canada? It's the British North American Act, 1867, the Constitution, 1867, the Constitution, 1982, and the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Okay, so this is how all your trustees are supposed to operate. You see, it's not the Charter, it's not the Constitution Act, guys, read it. It's not the Constitution Act that gives you the freedom of free speech, the freedom of assembly, the freedom of movement. It's not the human rights covenants that give that to you. No. These documents are supposed to remind the government, or the public service and the trustees, on how they are supposed to act towards every man and woman on this land. Okay, so that document, or those documents, are binding to the actors, the trustees, that are accountable for their actions. This is why I never use their shit at court. But I use their shit at court. But I don't use their shit at court. What are you saying? What I'm saying is, look, man, as far as I know, it's my right to go from point A to point B without unnecessarily being detained by anybody. But now there's a new legal law, a new act, the Driver's Act, that says, well, the cop can pull you over for no reason, they can come into your house, give you a breathalyzer, and nobody got upset about this, right? Well, no. Okay, so it's your act that says everybody has a right, or that reads that everybody has a right to go from point A to point B. But it's also your act that says, well, now the coppers can just do whatever they believe. Okay, but that all pertains to the person, and everybody's presumed to be a person under the law, unless you rebut it. Right? Now, if I see a benefit in being a person, within the corporate body politic, within the trust company, within Canada, within, the province, fine. But I also have a right to pull myself out of that anytime I wish. I don't see a benefit at this time. So what I do is I don't have government ID that projects me. What I have is I possess government ID that belongs to the government, that belongs to the legal society, that belongs to the trust. Right? The corporate body politic. It's their shit. They can give it and they can take it away. I have to beg for it, apply, right? But it's an application of a benefit that is offered because I am of and from this land. We are nature. We are of and from this land. If you say, like all common ground, what we call crown land, no, that belongs to every man, every woman of and from this land. All the resources belong to every man and woman of and from this land. The government is supposed to operate in trust to manage it on our behalf. And they have certain laws over their creation, over their persons, to make sure that they cause no harm to man over man's property. We are one with nature. We are one with the land. We are of this land. We are from this land. The natives know this. The guys I call my native cousins, I love OJ. So I'm looking at all this stuff, and so the reason I wrote the document, and yeah, I can clean it up somewhat, but I got to fuck off here right away. It's just so that, guys, you already have the right. You don't need some so-called grand poobah leader to pass you down a right in written form to tell you have this fucking right. No, I already have the right. And I waive the right or benefit to be seen as a legal person right now. Now, if I cause you harm, loss, or injury, then I am subject to you. Okay? And your claim better be true. Otherwise, you are going to be subject to I. And that's fair game. But everybody hides behind their person. So I feel so bad for these guys in BC, fighting for their parental rights. When they are the authors of the property, that property is not of age yet. That property only has the rights afforded them as any man or woman born on this land, as well as under the authority, the dictatorship of their mother or father, their authors. I'd love to see you guys go into court or appear at court as man saying, hey, property, give it back. Property, give it back. I am the author of that property. If any man or woman has a higher claim than I over said property, let him come forth under oath and claim it. Well, they can't. And this is what I'm saying. Parents, it's a corporate. It's a legal term. It's a corporate word. Parents. The parent company of Canada is the Inner City of London. Okay, well, I think it's actually England, because they're the ones who wrote the Constitution 1982 Act. Right? But the Inner City of London owns these corporate bodies. It belongs to them. They make the rules for the corporate body. They're supposed to be operating in trust so that no harm, loss, or injury comes to any man or woman on these lands that we call common law lands, common law countries. But you guys, you want to... Where's that? Okay, so you guys all want to run around. Hey. Okay, I think that's as big as I can get it. But you all want to run around and you want to be civil law, just like South America. You want to talk about death and destruction and slavery. Look at South America. Or you want to be civil law, like communist Russia and East Germany. Oh, you want to be Sharia law, like these Muslim countries. And civil law I get. Sharia law, I've never studied it. I don't get it, whatever, and don't wish to be put under it. I do not consent. It is not my wish. Thank you for your offer. Right? And it looks to me like Australia right now, it's what Victoria? What is it? Yeah, Victoria, the state of Victoria. Anyways, the one state where they're beating up, where the coppers are just beating up people. They're beating up people. They're stealing phones from little old ladies. It's just fucking ridiculous. I am so surprised that the Aussies put up with this shit. Like, I am so surprised. The Aussies, Canada used to have a tough name too. We used to stand until we were pushed to the edge of the cliff, and then we'd kick ass, and we wouldn't repent until after we were satisfied. And the Aussies are a tough bunch. And the New Zealanders, I don't get it. Why are we all being like this? You can't make us one with France and the one world order, because we're not civil. We don't operate under civil law. Okay? Our so-called public servants, or what you guys keep calling leaders, right? They're not destined to be leader because, that was destiny, like they believe in France. No, they were put in there in trust to keep this place civil and operating and paying the fucking bills, using our patrimony, our patrimony. Every resource that comes off this land they collect on is our patrimony. You know, there is no law that forces man to pay certain taxes. It's voluntary for man. But it's mandatory for persons because the persons are owned and created by the corporate body politic, the trust company, the trustees. So, my whole thing is, you know, a guy needs to man up. Woman up. Woman up. Well, how do you man up and woman up? Well, what's a man or a woman, anyways? Within the Judeo-Christian law, what is a man or a woman? It's a creation of God, right? The highest authority. And it's a creation of God. What is a man or a woman? It's a sinner. Sin means to fall short, to not be perfect. No man or woman cannot be perfect or can be perfect, right? Because we are all sinners saved by grace. Well, those of us that wish. And so I'm a sinner saved by grace. You know, my religious buddies, I got one buddy who's he's a pastor or whatever, but, you know, very religious guy. And, you know, he's like, oh, I'm not religious, da-da-da-da, you know. Anyways, you know, he's like, well, you know, grace is no excuse to sin. Well, nobody said it was, so why are you bringing it up? But you know you're going to fall short. We all make mistakes. This is why we have forgiveness on this land. If I cause you harm, loss, or injury, my repentance is to beg for forgiveness and correct the mistake. Okay? Now, say I break your window and you call the coppers and they charge me, but I go to you and I say, look, man, I'm sorry, I was having a bad day. It was a meltdown, and I pay for the damages, right? I have your window fixed. Now they got me at court. Well, there's no controversy, so there's no jurisdiction because I already settled it. Which is what a man or woman is supposed to do. We're supposed to settle our affairs. Now, unless you're a learned person of the legal society, you're a fucking legal idiot, and I don't care how well you think you read those legal terms called legalese, because it's different language. And unless you're a learned fellow of their society, you've got no business using their shit. And what's the Constitution written? What's the covenants written in? What's legislation written in? Legalese. Well, the codes are. The codified versions are. They're supposed to be, the law itself is supposed to be written in English, but you never get to see the law. It's written and it's put down on parchment paper and then it's sent over to be, codified. And unless you're actually one of the people that were there, did the codification of the law, or were there with the authors of the codification to explain to you why they're codifying it a certain way, you don't know. You can't stand on the law. And this is why I've shown in past shows, like, that's what I say. Hey, listen, I believe I have a right. All right? And not only do I believe I have a certain right, but I believe that the legal society maintains the same position. Then you use their codes and shit. But that poor Norm Travesty, I watched that interview with him and Chris and, I don't know, somebody's old lady or whatever. I just looked at Norm. He's like he's prey, man. He's prey. I give the man kudos. He's got the intestinal fortitude to stand up, but does he have the intestinal fortitude to actually learn what it's like to be a man on this land, within this nation? Why do you think Trudeau hates this nation so much? Because the nation is full of mankind. He has no control over the nation. He only has control which he created, which are citizens, which are persons under the law within the corporation. Look in the Interpretation Act of Canada. Person includes corporation. The inclusion of one is the exclusion of all others. So he's the parent company of all the little persons. That's why he can just do what he wishes, and the coppers don't bug him. That's why he can, when his old lady's screwing some guy and he catches him, he can go sit in a hotel and gamble and fill his nose with cocaine, and then come out and pretend to be, this wonderful prime minister with hair. No, I'm not jealous of his hair. Mind you, a little more hair would be nice. Fucking gets cold in the winter. But anyways, they can push, the corporate body politic can push the corporate body any way they wish. If they want to do their 2030, whatever. But they have no right to interfere with the rights of mankind. And until people understand who they are as one of mankind, these clowns are just going to keep getting away with it. And yeah, it's where they've pushed so hard and they're taking leaps and bounds right now. We're going to enter the dark winter. That it's going to be harder and harder to stand, right? And the kids, young folks, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, right? But nobody wants to be responsible for their own well-being. They just want to give the responsibility to some corporate body to tell them how to live and when to crap and how many flushes to take when you flush the toilet, and that's what it seems to be. And in fact, they're getting less and less. They don't even care what you think now. They say, what are you going to do about it? What do you think King Trudeau put out the edict, and he's just, boom, white men can't have guns anymore. What? And don't worry, my native cousins, don't worry, okay? He may not be bugging you at this time, but remember how they fucked your forefathers through the Indian Act? That wasn't me, it wasn't my daddy. My great-grandfather had a great relationship with my native neighbors, cousins. Okay, well, you're cousins now because I'm also from this land. But it's the same establishment that is, look, man, that's how you build communism. You create a social war, right? You get everybody to hate each other for whatever fucking reason. They all pile on, pile on the monkey in the middle, pile on the doggy pile, right? Remember back in school? Dog pile, right? But then the guys at top are still dogpiling on you. So once they get rid of who they don't like, the people who stand for freedom, the people who know that the difference between right and wrong and mankind and persons, then they can just pick you off one at a time. They do it every time. If anybody had any sense of history, y'all wouldn't be mad at me because I'm white with my so-called entitlement to live on the street. Y'all would be looking at these fucking guys, these monsters, and they're coming for you next. They're just using you, man. Just using you. Anyways, there are good folks and there are bad folks, and I have to remind myself of that. Okay? I'm not a big fan of the coppers. I've seen them lie and cheat and steal and cause harm my whole life. And they hide behind their titles, their offices, their badges. Now, is that the fault of the good guys? No, you just don't see as many good ones. I was talking to a copper not too long ago, I said that. Fuck. The institution, I believe all the Canadian institutions have failed. They're all failed. They're all failures. They have failed every man and woman on this land. And now they're talking about taking your property. You don't need to own anything. Rent. And you see, your property are your rights. So if you consent to give property, okay, you're not just given a home. You're not just given a car. You're not just given some kind of object. But you're given away your God-given rights. And then true slavery can reign. Can you think about a world slave market? I don't know why people don't give a shit about the Chinese slaves. I don't understand. I really don't. I don't understand why nobody gives a shit about the slave markets in Libya right now. I don't get it. You know, I was watching an election here in Africa. I'm not sure if it was Kenya, so don't quote me on it. But where the guys that weren't voting the way the world terrors wished you to vote, they were going with machetes and chopping you across the head. People weren't dead, but man, you should see the scars. And this is a man from that culture chopping another man from that culture, his cousin, his brother, his sister, I don't know, right across the fucking head. My God, that's fucked. So yeah, after this operation, so what I'm going to do at this disclosed location where I'm getting the operation is I'm also going to film it. I like to see, because I think there's only 3 patients in the whole province for COVID in the hospital. And that seems kind of weird. I knew this guy in BC, whatever his name is. I knew that he was calling an election because, you know, he was faring pretty good. Like, he was a minority government and he was faring pretty good. And you know, no totalitarian fucking bullshit like they were getting in Eastern Canada. And then I says, oh, he's calling an election. Now, he called an election against the rules. It's a fixed date here, and he broke the rules. But they're rules. His society, not mine. It's not my society. It's his society. That's what he's part of. So he's being sued right now for breaching, you know, the BC whatever legislative constitutional bullshit that they have. BC doesn't really have a constitution, but anyways, no, I saw him strategically play because they're playing chess. He needed to call the election. He knew because he was decent enough premier here that people would elect him in because we're all working. We're all just carrying on with life. And then now he got a majority. Now, oh yeah, unessential travel shut down. This shut down. That shut down. Oh yeah. Now we're about to get a taste of what you folks in Ontario have been going through, and Quebec. You know, like somebody needs to be sued for killing our seniors. Who is liable in a trust? Is it the grantor of the trust? Is it the trustee? Or is it the beneficiaries? Now, if you and I are beneficiaries of this Canadian trust, then it must be the trustee because the grantor did not set up the trust to cause any harm, loss, or injury to any man or woman on this land. Okay, let's call the grantor England, the inner city of London. Let's call it the Crown. Let's call it His Majesty and Right, whatever. Fuck. The grantor set it up so no harm, loss, or injury would come to any man or woman on this land. They set out their charter, their documents, their Constitution Act, 1867, to make sure that no harm or injury came to any man or woman on this land. So who's breaking the charter? Well, who's the trustee? Now, they always swing it around so that you're the trustee. They're always trying to get you. If you act as a driver, you're a trustee. Because a driver is someone who operates for the corporate body politic for pay on public roads. If you look at the criminal code, you'll find that everyone has a right, the public has a right to go from point A to point B on King George's highways, man. You have a right. They didn't give you the right. They already recognize that it is your right, and so that right's supposed to be enforced. These guys are stepping all over your fucking rights. Your rights are your property. It is proper to you. So, anyways, yeah. So one thing I'm going to be doing down at the hospital is I'm going to be, if I make it through this, I'm going to be documenting, doing a little documentary on what it's like to be in the hospital during COVID. Woo, that should be fun. You say, well, Al, like, you're using your healthcare. Yeah, I believe that healthcare is a benefit at this time. But when I'm out of the hospital, and if I decide that healthcare is no longer a benefit, I am free. I am free to make that decision for myself. Because number one, I'm an adult. Number two, I'm a beneficiary of the system. Number three, I am not a trustee of Canada, British Columbia. They are the trustees. They operate in trust. They are called public servants. I am not a public servant. Anyways, God bless you all. And hopefully I'll be making another one of these. Ciao.